I'm Representative Andrew Clyde from Georgia's 9th District, and it's an honor to speak to you today. I'd like to say a special thank you to your trade group president, Charles Fowler, for extending the invitation. You are my people. I've been a federal firearms licensee for over 30 years, a life member of the NRA for now 33 years, and a member of Congress for just over a year and a half. So, what am I going to do to help our industry? Well, I tell you, when I came to Congress, that's the passion that I have, is to protect and defend the Second Amendment. Well, so how did I go from being a gun dealer to being a member of Congress? It's kind of an interesting story, and I'm going to give you a little bit of that background first. After college, I was commissioned an officer in the U.S. Navy, and I went on to serve 11 years active duty, primarily in aviation, a fighter squadron, and a couple of aircraft carriers, and naval air station. I completed my active service. I settled down in Athens, Georgia, earned a master's degree in business from the University of Georgia, again, go Dogs, with my focus being in entrepreneurship. Yeah, but I could not leave the military behind, so I went on to serve another 17 years as a reservist, as an ABCB, that's Construction Battalion, attached to the Marine Corps, and I completed 28 years total, including 3 combat tours in Iraq and Kuwait. All during my active military service, I had a great passion for firearms. And so in an effort to pay for what became a habit, of buying guns, I started a hobby business called Clyde Armory. So it began as a very small business, has grown into a successful law enforcement and retail-focused company with 2 locations in my home state of Georgia. I realized early on that every firearms business is a true constitutional business, because without federal firearms licensees, most citizens would not be able to exercise their Second Amendment rights, which have been so vital in achieving and maintaining our freedom for now 246 years since independence. So I decided my company motto would be, "We enable individual participation in the preservation of liberty." And that, as we all know, is what the Second Amendment does. It helps preserve our liberty because it allows individuals to defend themselves against unlawful aggression, whether it is defending against someone committing a crime or against a government bent on tyranny. But since the Gun Control Act of 1968, the government has been in almost total control of all commercial manufacturing and sales through licensing and record-keeping requirements. And all of you are very, very familiar with that. So since federal firearms licensees are constitutional businesses, that means you all are constitutional businesses too. It makes it even more imperative that we use every tool at our disposal to protect our businesses so we can continue to serve free citizens. So I thank you for coming to this conference, and I hope that each of you will take away a nugget that will help make your business better. For me, one of the nuggets I always carry with me is, I just love guns. Going to work each day allowed me to advance that passion, and in doing so, advance and protect liberty. So as a veteran turned small business owner selling guns, I was living the American dream. But then something happened that completely changed the direction of my life, and it helped put me here today where I am. On April the 12th, 2013, the Obama IRS, without warning, wrongfully confiscated $940,000 from my business. Come to find out, they've been confiscating money from small business owners all across the country through an unconstitutional process known as civil asset forfeiture. They were accusing people of structuring their legally earned cash deposits, what they put in the bank. Some of you may have heard the story as it made national news at the time, but many people didn't have the financial resources to defend themselves and ultimately would lose their businesses and their livelihoods. In my case, the IRS offered me a deal to give back 2/3 of the $940,000 of my legally earned money if I would forfeit 1/3 to them as a penalty. They wanted $325,000 from me, and they wanted me to voluntarily forfeit it. This was nothing short of extortion, and I refused. Then they threatened me with criminal prosecution in order to get a civil monetary settlement. And as you all know, that is actually a violation of legal ethics. Folks that are lawyers can lose their license to practice law over that. Again, I refused because I had done nothing wrong. I challenged the corrupt IRS in court, where I eventually won, and I got most all my money back. But it cost me $150,000 to defend myself. But I decided I was not going to stop there. I decided to make it my mission to ensure that this never happened to a fellow American ever again, because what the IRS was doing was 100% wrong. So after my legal case was settled in October of 2013, I went to Washington and told my story to congressional staff. And then in January 2015, 16 months later, I was asked to testify against the IRS and their corrupt methods in a congressional hearing. The chairman of that oversight subcommittee hearing forced the IRS commissioner at the time, Commissioner John Koskinen, to personally apologize to me. That was a pretty amazing thing, actually. And the other two witnesses that testified against the IRS in that hearing room. I then worked with Congress to create legislation that would eliminate the ability of the IRS to ever seize legally earned money through civil asset forfeiture ever again, saving hundreds of individuals and business owners from wrongful prosecution each and every year. By the end of that investigation, we had found out that the Obama IRS had gone after over 700 individuals and small businesses and done to them exactly what they had done to me. I just happened to be probably the largest amount of money of all of them. So, 3 times in 3 congressional terms, Congress unanimously passed what became known as the Clyde Hirsch-Sowers Respect Act. And they named it after the 3 of us who were willing to risk government retribution in order to testify against the corruption in the IRS. The 3rd time must have been the charm because the Senate finally passed it too. And as you know, the House and the Senate both have to pass the bill in order for it to go to the President for signature. But on July 1st, 2019, President Donald J. Trump signed our bill into law as part of the Taxpayer First Act. So I truly believe that we are in the fight of our lifetime against big, overreaching socialist government, and I personally experienced the hardship of it. Yet by the grace of God, I was able to win twice over the IRS, both the legal battle in the courtroom and the legislative battle in Congress as a private citizen. I never intended to run for public office, but this experience showed me there's a very thin line between we the people running our government and our government running us. I firmly believe that we the people need to be the ones in charge, and so in 2020, I threw my hat into the ring when the incumbent in my district decided that he was not going to run again for Congress. Though I had never held a political office before, I won every one of my elections. The people in my district saw a fighter, and that's what they wanted in Georgia's 9th district. At the time, the 3rd most conservative district in all of the nation. With that win, I can be an even stronger Second Amendment advocate. And as one who intimately knows the issues of our industry, how ATF works and how current law hinders us, I believe I'm able to not just defend our gun rights, but I can work to restore what we have lost to the liberal left. The Democrats continue to be on the offense with another anti-gun bill this past week in the Democrat-controlled Judiciary Committee. I'm sure most of you have seen that in the news. And we will be having yet another anti-gun hearing in the Democrat-controlled Oversight Committee, of which I'm a member. The Democrat majority will try to embarrass the CEOs of Daniel Defense, of Ruger, and of Smith & Wesson. But I'm on that committee too, and we will stand up and we will fight for them. They are constitutional businesses as well. The Biden administration continues its drive to add new rules and regulations that go beyond the intent of Congress, with the end goal of further restricting our liberty. The frame and the receiver rule and the stabilizing brace rule are 2 very dangerous examples. By executive order, they are trying to beat us by redefining words in existing law. What concerns me most is the redefinition of a firearm receiver or frame. If they accomplish this redefinition, and we in Congress have a few tools that we can work, that we can use when we take the majority. But if they accomplish this redefinition, they will have subverted the legislative process and created a new law by executive fiat that basically eliminates the individual's ability to make their own firearm, and that will put all, and I repeat, all manufacturing under total federal government control. This will create another level of regulation that will be ambiguous and will send us further down the path of national gun registration. I want to eliminate regulation, not create more of it. I think there is too much government in our lives and businesses already, so most of the legislation that I introduce is aimed at cutting the size, scope, and reach of the federal government. The first bill I introduced was H.R. 1887, and that was Ensuring the Second Amendment Freedoms Are Executed Timely Act, or Ensuring Safety Act. This would change the background check safety valve from 3 state business days to a straight 3 calendar days, so that citizens are not further delayed in their ability to purchase a firearm. During the pandemic, the FBI said that since states were closed for business, the 3 state business day safety valve clock never started, so your background check could be indefinitely delayed, thereby denying you the right to purchase a firearm. This was unconstitutional, and just shows you how far the government will go to abuse its authority when given a chance.